Hi folks, how you doing? Elgin Bowling again. Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, might as well use the moniker. Your creative caricature marketing consultant coming at you today with my coffee, which I'm going to drink. There's definitely going to be coffee in heaven. Trust me on this, folks. Anyway, I was thinking today, as I was going through some of my cartoons, I noticed a pattern that I have when I draw a cartoon. Now, I'm not a quote unquote traditional comic artist. I do comics, as you might know, for editorial comics for the Wave newspaper in Far Rockaway. Shameless plug, check that out. And I also do my own personal comics that deal with editorial issues, social commentary, things of that nature. And I noticed that because I'm just going to come right out and say it, because I never formally learned the skills of a traditional comic book artist, I was forced, because of lack of knowledge, which sometimes can be a good thing, to make up my own way of doing it. And so what I usually do, and I'm giving you some tips here unintentionally, but what I usually do is I draw the comic on an 11 by 14 sheet. I draw them individually, either on 11 by 14 sheet, or an 8 by 11 sheet, and that sheet will represent one panel. Then at the end of everything, I scan these panels and kind of just put them together on a page, and that's how I build my comics. So that's one way to do it, because I can't stand drawing in those teeny tiny little boxes. I mean, hats off. If I had a hat, I would take it off. So I'll take off my imaginary hat. To you artists, you traditional comic artists who can do that, I really think it's brilliant that you can draw in those little teeny tiny boxes and just draw these complex stories. I personally cannot do that. That's why I do my method. But I'm not here to talk about my method. I'm here to talk about something that is going to help you in your storytelling process, and it was just based on something that I notice that I do all the time, and this is going to help you. Because I don't take a traditional route of drawing a comic story, a sequential art story, what I do is I have in my mind the action or the action that I want in a particular scene, and I'll draw that out. And I'll try to make it as visually descriptive as possible, because again, since I don't do it the traditional way, I don't have the thought bubble above the head, or the word bubble coming out taking up half the screen, or trying to find a way to put it over here, or up here over here. I usually just focus on the illustration. And here's the key that I want you to get, which is so important. I try to make the comic, the panel, so undeniably visually descriptive that if you were living in Timbuktu and didn't read English, or if you were a complete deaf mute and never learned how to speak, well, how could you? If you were completely deaf and mute and you picked up my comic, you would be able to read it just by looking at the pictures, just by following the action. You would be able to kind of discern the storyline. And that's what you should do as a creator, I feel, of comic books. If you're creating comics to get a message across, if you're doing this to communicate with your audience, truly communicate, and you're an artist, then your art should be so descriptive that the story could tell itself wordlessly. Now, I know that some creators will differ on that, and I respect that. I respect that, and I can even understand their point of view. But I'm just coming at this, another way, since I don't create things traditionally, having never learned, you can say, or never had the discipline to actually do it the right way. I did it this way, and I found that people get the comic stuff that I do because I'm as visually descriptive as possible. So in creating your comics, Just endeavor to do that, to make them as visually descriptive, as idiot proof visually as possible. Now, if you create comics the traditional way, where you have the thought balloons and the bubbles and, the dialogue all written out, and so it dances with the picture, which you, on, some level, should do, then fine, more power to you. I'm glad that you can do that. Okay, in fact, if your work will be even more impactful if you can do that. But if you are having trouble doing, the quote unquote traditional way, this might be a way that you can kind of just really connect with your audience. And I hope that makes sense to you, because you want to be as visually descriptive in your artwork as possible to get that story across. So that's my tip for today. This is Elgin Subway Surfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. Hey, write in. Let me know what you think about this. Keep creating.